So I'm out hiking today in the Lytham Reservoir system, which is one of my favourite spots to walk, and it just got me thinking actually about how good gardening is as a tool to teach you some of the most important mental skills. So I thought I'd just ramble on about that for a little bit as one of my podcast episodes, and if you're watching on the video then you just get to see a bit of Lytham Reservoir system scenery. This is a private little lane that I'm walking down now. Lovely bird song. Anyway, so the first thing is planning, the value of planning. So planning is pretty important in life in general, and gardening teaches you pretty good planning skills. You don't need to be an amazing planner, but the more you think about planning and the fact that plans need to change and be adaptable, and so you need to be flexible in life, then the better life you're going to have. Because whilst it's great to make plans, it's also great to recognise that plans often don't go the way you expect, and you need to take advantage of opportunities that life presents to you. So that's the first skill. So the second skill, I think, is not to get attached to anything too much. You really don't want to get attached to the success of a particular crop, because there's a pretty good chance, not a huge chance, but definitely a non-zero chance that that crop is going to fail. It's going to get disease, it's going to get pests, something is going to go wrong. So having lots of different baskets with a few eggs in them is a lot better than having all of your eggs in one basket. And by that I mean, in gardening, having abundance in terms of diversity rather than abundance in terms of one single crop is a much more resilient way to garden, and it's a much more resilient way to live your life. So following up on that theme, gardening definitely teaches you resilience. And again, resilience is an incredibly important, incredibly valuable set of skills to develop. And one element of resilience is getting used to failure. So, if you go through life and you're always successful, then you're probably mentally very fragile, because you just haven't trained your brain to deal with failure on a regular basis. Whereas gardening kind of teaches you to experiment, to expect some of those experiments to fail, and to just understand that the world is not a very predictable place. You can get run over tomorrow, your house could burn down, all sorts of things that can go wrong in life, and a lot of them are out of your control. And you really learn that in gardening. Life is not really under your control. And the more times you get exposed to that and realise that actually life goes on, despite all these little failures, the more resilient you are going to be. So the next skill that I really like to think about is building slack into your life. And by slack I mean a little bit of spare money, a little bit of spare time, a little bit of spare kind of energy. And in gardening that translates into spares and space. Having a little bit of extra space so you can take advantage of opportunities, and growing spare seedlings, sowing spare seeds, so that you can really take advantage of situations that arise, good and bad. And the next one I like is living below your means. Now in gardening, especially if you're self-sufficient, that means growing more food than you need. And you get this incredibly relaxing feeling when you always have a surplus. So you're never worrying about not having enough food to eat. Now, we grow an intentional surplus so that we can share it with our friends and family, but that means that when we go short of anything, when anything goes wrong, we just give a bit less to our friends and family. That's always just a bonus for them, but for us it means we always have a surplus in our lives. And as I say, that's an incredibly relaxing situation to be in. And in real life, the skill, as I said before, I think, was that you really need to live below your means. And if you're spending £500 a week and you're earning 600, you will feel rich. But if the converse is true, or the inverse is true, you will feel poor. And even if you're earning £1 million, if you're spending £1.1 million, you're going to feel poor. So the next thing that came to mind is the importance of progress in a good life. And gardening definitely teaches you about progress. It's one of the absolute best ways to incorporate progress into your daily experience. Things are always growing, you're always harvesting, things are always happening, mainly positive things. And that's a wonderful way to live. And if you can find ways in general in life to always be experiencing progress, then you're onto a winner. And then the final thing that I picked is that gardening helps you to control your mood. There are not that many ways in which you can take control of the way that you feel. But I think most gardeners realise, and they can apply this in their general daily life, is that getting out in the fresh air and doing something constructive really does make you feel good. So there we go. That's my first attempt at a walk and talk podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment video channel, but it's also the Gardening Week podcast. See you soon.